I am joined today by Terry Cook, founder and CEO of Parcion Private Wealth, and I am particularly excited for this interview, just given the alignment of values between our two firms, the experience that Terry and his team bring to the table, the unique approach that they bring to working with business owners to help individuals and families unlock the true value and wealth and legacy of their business, their asset. So Terry, thanks for being here.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We'll just dive right in.
Sure.
Why did you design Parcion the way that you did?
Parcion's a multifamily office, as you know, that works exclusively with family-owned business owners planning for a sale, a liquidity event, or up through that sale, and then kind of life simplification on the other side. Yeah. A long story. I've been, in the industry for 30 years and have really, for quite a while, worked exclusively with business owners, and mostly because of the kind of the sophisticated planning techniques, the value on planning that I've felt from these families, and the ability to add value. We started Parcion so we could build an entire firm around the specific needs of these types of families and clients. When you work for a larger bank, a lot of the resources of that institution are built around how do we support as many kind of a broad class as possible. So we wanted to make sure the resources of Parcion were built around and support a very specific group of families and specific group of needs.
Yeah. Can you explain the difference between a multifamily office and other forms of wealth management or wealth advisory or financial planning?
Yeah, it's a great question, and because our industry is very segmented in a lot of ways. The simplest way to answer that is my view of a multifamily office or a family office is, in addition to kind of the investment support and some of the planning support, is the family and lifestyle support. What's the why behind the goals? And that's ultimately what the wealth is there to support. So to really have a true understanding of that, of not just building the pie, but what do we need to do to kind of optimize lifestyle and lean into that. So there's other aspects of it. Obviously, a multifamily office will really work significantly with other professionals on the team of advisors for that client, really supporting the advanced planning, like tax mitigation and wealth transfer and philanthropy and these types of aspects. But besides the advanced planning, it's really the family and lifestyle support aspect.
Okay. And we've touched on it a little bit, but just diving into the importance of the fact that you only work with business owners. So I want to come back and highlight that. I know we already touched on it, but why does that make a difference to the business owner?
Right. There's so many, and business owners are used to building a team, and what I love about business owners is they've generally built something where they are best in class. So they do one or maybe a couple things, and they do it better than anybody. So in building Parcion and really in working with business owners, that's what we do. We work with business owners and their unique and specific needs. Exclusively. And so we have more reps at some of these different strategies around families that are very similar. And I believe that's what it takes to be best in class in something, is just really fully understanding that segment and delivering, over and over.
We've talked before, and one of the misconceptions about your industry is that they're just pushing products, right? Versus services. So how do you differentiate your model from kind of that misconception around financial?
Yeah, it's tough because there's lots of conflicts in the business, and the good news is at every level there are really good people who just want to help the client, right? But within that, structurally, there's also conflicts just built in. So just being aware of that is important. We're a registered investment advisor, which means we're a true fiduciary, and our clients are the only ones that pay us. So not by product, not by lending or other areas. It's just based on the advice and the business and the relationship with our directly with our clients. So they're the only ones that compensate us. So that eliminates conflicts there. In the industry, as I was saying, especially on the banking side and the wirehouse side, all of these companies also have investment banks that make the products, right? And so there's a profit center there, and then there's a profit center on the wealth advisory side. So like I said, good people in all aspects. You just have to be aware that there's conflicts in different channels. And I just wanted to remove that when we started Parcion, to remove that as an issue so everybody could just focus at the task at hand.
So all of that setup brings us to where we'll probably spend the bulk of our time is just talking about business owners and their unique needs, specifically as they prepare for a sale. And there's some things that we've talked about around planning, the team that they have in place, and then the psychological impact of heading toward a sale, working through a sale, and what happens on the other side of a sale. So just diving in on, let's start with planning. How do you work with the owner client to start that process?
Yeah, well, you think about the business owner, and I know, this is where you've kind of excelled as well, and OneAccord is, think about these successful entrepreneurs and innovators that have really focused almost, exclusively on their business, and that's where most of their net worth is. It's very daunting to think that they're going to unlock that, and that creates a lot of uncomfortableness to some degree, lack of clarity. And so what we try to provide is a very experienced model around that to show them, give them visibility, clarity, confidence on how this will all work. They know how they get paid and how their lifestyle is supported from their business.
Yeah.
Once that business is now, a bunch of money in a bank account or an investment account, how's this all going to work and support their lifestyle? So it's even, the most stoic business owner has some fear around this and trepidation. And so we try to provide some clarity around that. And that's where the planning aspect comes along. How much do I need to sell my business for? Is it enough? And then how much are taxes going to take out of that? So how do I transfer wealth to the next generation the most efficiently? So these are those reps that we get over and over again, and it's important for a business owner to have confidence in the model that's being built, that it's going to be that it's going to reflect their actual experience coming out the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. And because we're going to talk about team next, but just to touch on what you just said around the planning, that's we will sometimes say, we're going to hand you, if everything goes well, we're going to hand you a trash bag full of money. But the next question that we ask is, what's the plan in place to make sure that doesn't leak all the way from here to the car?
Right.
Right. What do you have in place? And that's why it's so great for us to be able to work alongside organizations like Parcion, where we know that we are a part of a team working on behalf of that owner's success. Right. And so let's talk about team, because team can be two things. Team can be the internal team that the business owner has, and then also the team of service providers that are working to, move them toward that goal line. So,
yeah, it's super critical. If you think about the team around the business, and business owners understand team. They understand partnerships. Very few business owners, whether it's internally or externally, got to where they're at solely on their own backs without leveraging experience of others. So, but a lot of times those team of advisors that got them there are not the same ones that are experienced with a sale or liquidity events or optimizing for such. So that's kind of where it starts, to make sure that you have the right team in place that are experienced and have been through a number of sales or liquidity events and whatnot. Certainly on the legal side, both personally on estate planning and corporate. Tax, it's the biggest tax event that any business owner will likely go through in their lifetime, but it's also the biggest opportunity to save on taxes as ever before. And then risk is another one, insurance, and certainly, and probably most importantly, outside of wealth management, which I'm obviously biased on, and the importance there, is the M&A professional, and having somebody really walk you through this foreign territory and creating an environment that buyers compete for the business and help you, not step on any landmines along the way. But having that entire team that's experienced and can also collaborate together and experience not only in the process but around the industry and the other aspects that make this business owner unique is critical.
Yeah,
it's huge.
Yeah, and we use a lot of house analogies, real estate analogies when we're dealing with business owners, and selling a house, there's an emotional aspect to that, right? Maybe you raised your family there. Selling a business is definitely got a psychological or emotional impact to it. So as you're working with the planning and with the team, how do you factor in that consideration for the psychological impact on the owner themselves?
Right. It's huge, and it's probably the area that's underestimated or underappreciated the most. I often do a talk about the reason why most business owners regret selling a year later, which is surprising. And a big impact, a big portion of that is the loss of identity, the loss of purpose. You work all this time trying to grow the business and take care of your employees and all that responsibility. And suddenly, maybe not so suddenly, but over time, that's removed. Just it's hard to fully appreciate that. And then the loss of community. I mean, a lot of business owners, this is where their community and their friend groups are from. So how to replace that? And there's no single answer or direct answer, but just being aware that these are things that will affect the business owner and their families. It's just so being aware of that is important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that I know we put an emphasis on, and from the work that I've already done with your team, I understand that you put an emphasis on as well, is just that consideration of the person, right? For us, and it seems for you, it's more than a transaction, right? We're really trying to dig in and understand what defines success for these owners. And oftentimes that looks like, what are they planning to do spending time with their family? Do they have other causes that they care about? Are they trying to be philanthropic? What's life on the other side of business ownership look like? And that's a real conversation that we have with these owners as we're preparing to either take them to market, or if we're just taking their business to the next level, is, that holistic aspect of how does your person fit into this professional plan? It's
a great point, and I know OneAccord does this really well, and it's the same approach that we take. I call it the N of one approach, right? So a sample size of one, right? So we build our process. We build the planning solutions. We help build the team singularly around the business owners and their family's unique situation. It's not this works for everybody, so let's bring this group in, and there's your solution set. Every situation is different, and it has to be approached with the goals and priorities of that particular family. It's like a snowflake, as corny as that sounds, and every situation is different. I like to say, our industry's really good at building pie charts and fitting different clients into a pie chart to make it scalable. We have 80 families and we have 80 pie charts. So there's just no one single solution.
Yeah, and I've found that to be true on our side of things as well, and in our industry, where everybody has their own kind of model and methodology and their system that they're hoping to fit the business owner into. And I think that there just needs to be an understanding that every situation is a little unique. Like you said, it's each situation's a bit of a snowflake, and a lot of times what the business owner cares about isn't necessarily our system. They don't, EBITDA is a thing, right? We have to talk about EBITDA, but if all you do as an investment bank or as a fractional operating partner is focus on EBITDA and multiple, there's a whole piece of the equation that you're missing, the
Right.
personal aspect, and there's some other benefits that are missing. And so let's jump into the benefits from your industry. What are the benefits that a business owner and their family can expect from working with you that maybe they haven't considered? There's a lot of business owners, and I know you know this, that grew up entrepreneurially. They grew up in maybe a family-owned environment, maybe they're second generation, and maybe grandpa told them, don't ever let anybody touch your money, right? That was kind of the old mentality, was just you handle all of it. So what are the benefits that somebody can expect from partnering with a multifamily office?
Yeah, it starts with what we've kind of touched on a little bit, just the experience and the number of reps, so to speak, that we have working with families in this situation. It is the biggest financial transaction of most business owners' lives, right? The most taxes they'll ever pay, biggest opportunity to save on taxes, biggest opportunity to transfer wealth to the next generation without death taxes involved. There's just so many planning aspects that go around this that you want to work with a firm who's seen it all, who's been through these many times, seen what didn't work as well as what does work well. Sometimes the mistakes that you see out there are just as important to know and understand and avoid as the best practices. So I think that's overall, that's the main thing. The other aspect of working with a multifamily office is the limited number of other families, like the high professional to client ratio there. So the high touch aspect of it, that allows us to understand the family's unique needs and work beyond even the portfolio aspect and the cash flow aspect to support their lifestyle and the next generation and whatnot. So high touch, very experienced around these types of issues, and then the ability to connect other outside resources to support lifestyle and the family on an ongoing basis.
Yeah. Terry, do you have an example of a client that you can talk about where their partnership with you has radically changed their outlook on the transition of their business?
Boy, I mean, I want to say that's all the families that we've worked with. Again, it's regret versus no regret. But yes, we're in different stages right now with a number of those families, and many times when and you see this all the time, when a business owner decides to sell, they always ask me, like, should I sell or not? Like, well, probably not, unless there's something else that you want to do with your time, or you're not getting joy out of it anymore. And the reason I bring that up is many times they find a partner in the business, of somebody to sell to, or a partial sale, and now they've got somebody working alongside them. And suddenly the business is growing again, and they're not shouldering all the responsibility. They've taken risk off the table. It allows them to find that energy that they had originally. So we see that a lot, and also an understanding that your family's taken care of. You've kind of built a brick wall around all your future goals, and allows them to sometimes lean into the next stage of the growth of that business, or just the next stage of life. We've noticed that our families, like, generally we ask them what their goals are after they sell, and something that comes up more than anything is, I want to travel more, I want to travel better. And so to see them and to support those types of goals, that's very fulfilling. The philanthropy that comes out of, for a lot of families, unlocking the true potential of their wealth and allowing them to kind of support causes they care about is something that we also see a lot. So every situation is different, like we've talked about, but there's, just seeing them able to not only support their goals, but expand their goals once they have confidence around, what that wealth can do once it's unlocked.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd like to take a second to just, pretend that we're talking directly to business owners that are maybe in that phase of, gosh, I don't know what comes next. Right. I don't know if I have the right team around me. Maybe they have a wealth advisor. Maybe they don't have a wealth advisor. Maybe they've already started talking to investment banks. Maybe they haven't. But what are some of the most common questions that you get from new clients that are in that space that might be helpful for a business owner who watches this or listens to it to hear the answers to, so they kind of have some foundation to go off of?
The common concerns are wealth preservation, liquidity, tax mitigation, taking care of the next generation, and then supporting the causes that we care about. Lots of times the first question, one of the first questions for business owners in this process is, I got a lot to focus on. What is most time sensitive? What's the order I need to think about? Because some of the ways to mitigate taxes need to be done sometimes as early as 5 or 10 years prior to a sale.
Yeah.
Right. But then all the way leading up, let's look at what's most urgent. Let's understand what all the goals are and priorities, but then let's put a timeline together and let's focus on what's most urgent. And tax mitigation, wealth transfer, there's usually some aspects of that are separate than optimizing transferable value, separate than optimizing the value of the company. It's what's the advocacy for the personal wealth goals of the family. And so to have confidence that somebody is taking care of those personal wealth goals while the business owner is working on the business and going through that is really critical and freeing many times. So there's a lot of questions that are like, what do I need to do next? What do I not want to realize after I sell that I should have done before? And having a firm like ours, a firm like yours, others out there who have been through many of these can point those things out.
Yeah. And that is something that we see often where there's work that needs to be done a couple of years in advance. But there's still that question mark of, okay, do I want 5 years from now to be my endpoint? Do I want 10 years from now to be my endpoint? How do you work with business owners that are in that I don't know space?
Yeah, well, I say there's an exit plan for everybody. You'd like to be able to be in control of that and choose it. And many times it's just to the next generation, which also includes a lot of planning work. So, I would say it's never too early to be planning for something like this. And, whether it's you're 2 years out, 5 years out, 6 months out, there's always something to be done. And if there aren't any gaps, it's good to know that as well. I mean, we do that probably a third of the times that we're engaged by a client or by a family is hey, there might be a couple tweaks, but you've got a good team in place. You've made good progress, and there aren't a lot of gaps here, and that's also good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. We on one side of our house, we're helping business owners get to that next stage, whatever it is. And then on the other side of our house with the fractional operating partners, we're helping prepare them for the next stage. So in the investment banking world, seems to be pretty standard that about 1 in 10 businesses is that business that you just described where there are no gaps. They're ready to go directly to market. The other 9 need some form of strategic planning and could be a 24-month runway, could
Right.
be a 5-year runway. So what are ways that you can partner with firms like ours that are doing that prep work as you're working with and I often say that our clients are the owners, not the business. I think the same is true
Absolutely.
for you.
Absolutely.
So how do you work in partnership with other firms like us to make sure that the personal financials are coinciding with the work that's being done to increase the value on the business pre-sale?
Right. And as you know, I mean, we'll work as an extension of other advisor services in just providing clarity around that. The cash flow modeling is critical. Recognizing the different solutions that match up with what that family is uniquely trying to accomplish, because every family is different. There are some commonalities, planning opportunities going through a sale and leading up to a sale. There's some commonalities that you don't want to miss, but everyone is unique. So it's putting in that time well in advance to just identify, provide confidence. The simplest example is building that brick wall through the cash flow model of, what does the family need to sell for? After taxes, after you take advantage of all the tools out there to support their lifestyle.
Right.
And understanding what that number is critical.
Yeah.
And also can be freeing and help many times expand what goals they might have.
Yeah. We often say it's not how much you get, it's how much you keep.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So Terry, we talked earlier about how your firm is different and how your services are different and how your model is different. Well, let's talk a little bit about process. What does that do to your process? What can a business owner expect?
Yeah, and I like to think our process is different, and I think the main aspect of it, again, it goes back to that N of one approach. So we really want to understand the unique needs of the family, and again, the family is multi-generational many times. So we'll spend, sometimes a number of years with that family before the sale to really create opportunities on the planning side. So our process is unique in how we get to know the goals, the values, the relationships of each family that we work with, and then help them kind of position themselves properly for that sale. And then because we know them so well, we can support their needs from a lifestyle standpoint afterwards as well. So from a differentiation standpoint, it's not a scalable business. Our entire the financial services industry is built on scale and these pie charts and whatnot. We're kind of the opposite of that. So we're building an entire kind of service team around the unique needs of families. And then we'll pull on outside resources around the needs of that family. So it goes back to high touch, but from a differentiation standpoint, it pulls the family out of kind of the machine and getting plugged into a model to, something that's built specifically for their goals and needs and preferences and the issues that they're dealing with.
Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, because I feel like it's so poignant when I ask the question this way. If somebody took nothing away from the rest of this talk, if this was the only thing that was cemented in their brain, what would you want them to know about your firm and your services?
I think it's we talked about building your team, and the biggest event, the most important financial event of a family's life is you want to make sure that it's being led or at least supported by folks that have done it multiple times. And that's what we do. We only work with business owners planning up for and through liquidity events, and then supporting the family on the other side of that. So I think that's the one takeaway is just experience and the kind of the best in-breed group of individuals that would be around the family in that situation.
Yeah. And you guys do have a great team. I've been lucky enough to get to know several of them, and you have a beautiful office, by the way. So, it's always fun to go spend time with the Parcion team and, hang out in your cool office.
Yeah,
So,
we appreciate that.
Terry, thanks so much for being here today, for talking through the unique approach that Parcion takes to serving clients. And how can folks get in touch with you?
Probably the best way is simply just visit our website. It's www.parcionpw, parcionpw.com.
All right. Well, thanks again, and we look forward to the next meeting and getting some updates on what we've done together.